In my last video, I told you about the crazy cards we found in our old Pokemon card bins. I won't spoil it if you haven't seen it, but there was some serious heat in there. However, it turns out our mom had even more bins of our old Pokemon cards, so it's time for round 2. But this time was quite a bit different. It started out pretty good, finding some old Entei, Raikou, and Suicune promo cards from these old tins. I mentioned this before, but when we were younger, we mainly collected the black and white and X and Y era sets. So we have a lot of cards from around that time just floating around in our old bins and binders. It's honestly crazy to think about how damn expensive these sets are nowadays. Anyway, even though we lived in the X and Y era, we still knew how valuable the Wizards of the Coast era was, and we would rip those old sets far more frequently than we had any business ripping. Seriously, we kept all the wrappers. It is crazy how much vintage we managed to find back then. I'm serious, man. My favorite Pokemon is Lugia, and I've always wanted the Unseen Forces Lugia EX, but the amount of Unseen Forces packs I managed to find back then to go for that card, yeah, good luck doing that today. But upon opening up the bins, the very first thing we saw was an opened first edition Team Rocket pack with nothing in it. But that immediately begs the question, well, what was in it? Are those cards in here? Well, there's only one way to find out. After about an hour of thumbing through the collection, we hadn't found much of interest, but I did manage to find 8 or 9 first edition Team Rocket cards. Given the pack we found earlier, it was clear that these all probably came from that. But the thing is, of those 8 or 9 cards, we still hadn't found the rare that would have come from that pack. A little later, we went through some white boxes with rows of cards in them, but we quickly realized that about a quarter of the cards in there had some weird brown shit on them, like a strange, untraceable black stain and sticky stuff. It was more like brown, just all over these cards, man. It was gross. Anyway, we eventually found a Slurpee straw in the box. You can imagine what probably happened. Whoever did it just left the evidence there. Thankfully, there wasn't much in these boxes except for this really cool e-reader series Umbreon reverse, which thankfully didn't have any of the Doodoroo on it, which was a big relief because Umbreon is popping off right now, and by the looks of it, he had about a 1 in 4 chance of being rendered hilariously worthless. But we got lucky. At least, that's what we thought. We saved our 2 binders for last. After all, they probably had the best cards in them, right? They both looked more or less the same, so our buddy Donovan flipped a coin to decide which one we'd be looking through first. After landing on heads, we put a binder on the table, and with heavy anticipation, we opened the first page. With bated breath, the 3 of us scanned the first page, and all at once, we locked on to one card in particular. A first edition, holo, Dark Gengar from Neo Destinies. We were freaking out. Excitement was high, but as quick as it came, the excitement fled when we realized the Gengar, or at least the sleeve, hopefully the sleeve, appeared to be stained by that mystery substance from earlier. Please no. Please, please, please let it be the sleeve and not the card that's ruined. As we pulled it out, the excitement went cold. The holo first edition Dark Gengar was completely covered in Doodoroo.
Dude, who shitted on this thing?
Dark Gengar with the shitted on it. Dark Gengar with the shitted on it.
We were really upset. This card at a PSA 10 can go for insane amounts of money in the thousands, but not this Gengar. I can't lie, this one hurt, but it was also bound to happen. After all, not every card that comes out of your old bins is gonna survive. And after having some time to stew on it, it is kind of funny. But what are we gonna do with darker Gengar? Well, I've grown quite fond of this literal shit stain, so if this video gets 1,000 likes, we'll get the Doodoroo Gengar PSA graded. I think if we're lucky, we might even get a PSA 1. Thank you so much for watching. We look forward to sharing more content with you, and until next time, y'all, goodbye.